Jessica Fraser is the founder of ElucidCX and has a dynamic background. She's been a startup CEO, a church executive, a marketer in oil and gas, and a voice in e-commerce. Every role has sharpened her ability to cut through the noise, find what actually matters, and most importantly, connect with others to focus on what matters most. Today, she helps organizations hear directly from their customers and then turn that insight into actionable strategy for growth. She's also a published author, speaker, leadership coach, and the wife of her high school sweetheart. Together, they are raising 5 kids, 3 teenage boys, 2 elementary-aged girls, and 2 yellow lab puppies. There's never a dull or quiet moment at the Fraser household. Welcome to the podcast, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney. I'm so excited to be here.
It is going to be a really fun conversation.
Yes, I'm ready.
Great. Let's start at what ElucidCX does and who specifically you built it for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So ElucidCX takes the actual voice of your customer, meaning we have actual conversations, not survey data, not automated data, but actual conversations. And we take all of those insights and we turn them into a strategic and actionable roadmap for growth. So it is built for a wide variety of industries, but it's really for companies who are, number one, they're courageous because they're looking for feedback. And that's a hard thing to do, especially in this day and age when we just feel so busy that actually pausing to take a bit of a breather to say, like, how are we really doing? And how do our customers actually feel? And that those customers get a voice in where they're going and what the trajectory looks like. So I have done everything from oil and gas to web designers to organizational psychologists and across the map. And really it's built for those organizations who are ready to listen and who are ready to grow and scale based on a customer-centric approach that is leading them into the next season.
It's so fascinating. And it's something I've never heard of anybody doing, but also I've experienced it being a huge need of, like, you probably scratched the surface in sending out a survey or whatever, but it's not a deep dive. Especially in a large organization, it's a massive undertaking, I'm sure. So what was the moment you knew that the business that you were supposed to start?
Wow. I had actually kind of developed this framework while working in some of those industries and roles that I was in before I went off on my own. And I'd seen it work time and time again. And I realized the framework is there, yes. But more than that, there's actually a receptivity to this. People are not closing the door on having a conversation. People are more than willing to open up some time in their schedule to share in this way. And so as I moved from ministry to oil and gas to e-commerce, I used voice of the customer in every single one of those arenas. And I saw it work in every single one of those arenas, and not just work where I could go, hey, I have insight. It was, hey, I have insight, and this is going to change the way that we operate. This is going to change the way that we go to market. This is going to change the way that we talk about things operationally behind the scenes. And so I realized, I think that this is bigger than any one company. I think this is actually a service offering that I can do for multiple industries, multiple businesses, and just kind of took that leap of faith. And here we are.
Yeah. When we were prepping for this conversation, you had described that launching ElucidCX in the current season you were in felt really risky. And you said that the bigger risk was not obeying the Lord's call for what he had next for you. So walk me through what that actually looked like, and what did you have to step away from, or what did you step into this next season?
Yeah, I think it felt risky because of the season that we're in, specifically with our kiddos. So 3 high schoolers, we have sort of catapulted into the years of spending that are at their highest. We have a kid who just got a driver's license and is ready to hit the road and wants a car. We have a 15-year-old that's right behind him. We are in sports, and, college is right around the corner. And all of these things are at the forefront of our thinking, not to mention when they all get home from school, they devour everything and anything that's in the house. So just at like a bare, how do we keep the pantry and refrigerator full on a day-to-day basis? So going from a job that felt quote unquote comfortable, quote unquote secure, and you go, I know where my paycheck is coming from, I know what's expected of me, into the world of entrepreneurship where you're going, hey, I've got to get gritty, and we've got to figure this thing out, and there's got to be a lot of endurance, and there's got to be a lot of perseverance, and I don't know what next week will necessarily look like. I don't know what next month will look like, but I have known in walking with the Lord that the greater risk is to disobey. That when he is asking me to do something, it doesn't mean that I'm always fully equipped for the journey. It doesn't mean that. It means that he's asking me to do something, and that is going to grow my faith. And it's always been worth it. It's always been worth it. So we're coming up on a year now of ElucidCX, and it feels like I blinked and we got here. But at the same time, it's like raising kids. You go, the days are long, but the years are short. There were days where I was just sitting there going, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do next? Like, I didn't have a roadmap for this. Nobody prepped me for this. And yet I knew I would rather be in that moment, that need for dependence on the Lord, than to have been somewhere else that he wasn't maybe necessarily calling me to be. And this has been a journey too that, Courtney, we just decided from day one, we're going to share every moment of this with our kids. They're going to have a front row seat to this entrepreneurship, to mom stepping out in faith for the purpose of spiritual formation, if nothing else. And that has been really life-changing, I think, for me as a mom, for my husband, for our family. And it allows us a deeper understanding of dependence and who God is, and to be able to trust him. To trust that, hey, those things that God promises, those things that he says are true about himself, we can take him at his word.
Yeah. Yeah. So does this look like, sharing about what you did for the day, or maybe didn't do during the day with your kids, or like the days where I know we've both been there of like, what am I doing? This is crazy that I would be considering this right now in my life. Like those, like, how are you going about those conversations with your kids?
Yeah. We've really let them in to the intimate parts of it. Maybe they're not looking at the P&L necessarily. Yeah. That would be wild. And maybe one day, like maybe a great example of financial literacy for them as they learn and look at, is this a journey that they want to go on? I tell them all the time, I would love to buy you all an LLC. Like, I think that's the greatest gift that we can give our kids, is the opportunity to take a risk and try.
Yeah.
But for us, it is kind of this, every day we sit down and we have dinner together. And when we're recapping our days, in the same way that they're recapping, hey, how was my geometry test? Hey, I've got this project due. I'm going, hey, I have a really big client meeting tomorrow. Could you guys pray for that? And on the mornings when we begin our day, my high schoolers are the first to leave. Sun's not even up yet. And a lot of times the last thing they'll say to me is, hey, mom, we're praying for your meeting today. Or, hey, mom, God's going to do something incredible. Just trust him in that. And I see them in that sense as like really strategic advisors in this of, they can sense when I am feeling stressed, maybe when I'm not at my best, and they're giving me the perspective that I need to step back and go, hey, what am I missing in this? What am I too close to right now that I need to actually step back and look for the miracles around me that are happening all of the time? And so, we have had some financial things happen for our family that are inexplainable, except to say that the hand of the Lord, just his blessing and favor, where literally I would go to the mailbox and I would go, okay, how are we going to make ends meet this month? And there's a check in there. Yeah. And not just a check from our mortgage company. Mortgage companies don't just send checks back, and they'll go, you severely overpaid something. And, we just caught this error in the system. And you go, and to be able to share that with the kids. And, one of the things we've really worked on is even the language that we want to use with the kids is never saying like, and I think that we feel very fortunate to be able to also say this is like, we don't want to say like we're broke, and we've not ever felt that way. But how do we say, hey, that might not be a family priority right now financially, but how do we plan for that in this season? Because what we do want our kids to know is that starting a company takes financial risk, and it takes that step of faith in those places. But when they get to see the hand of God move across so many different areas of our lives together, I think it's building foundationally something for them that, as I've looked back on the past year, I've said, if the Lord woke me up tomorrow and said, Jessica, ElucidCX is done, it's done, I would say that was worth every second. That was worth every second of it, because at a core foundational level, it grew us in a deeper love and dependence and understanding of who God really is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that exact same feeling. So you're still in the process of really finding that right product market fit with your clients, your customers. Where are you at in that process right now? And what's working well? What still feels like you have work to do?
Yeah. What works is the method. Voice of the customer works. I think that's worked tale as old as time. As long as people have been offering a product or a service to a customer, wanting to understand how your customer feels about it has worked. And I think that having a conversation about it, being able to be face to face with people, is showing a level of connection that people are desperate for right now. I think culturally, even. And so I know that works. There is yet to be a time where I'm working with a client, and typically there's this question that builds up and you can sense that they want to ask it. And they'll go, are people actually going to want to have a conversation with you? And they'll go, I wouldn't want to do that. And you go, but would you really? Wouldn't you really? If a brand you love, or a brand that you have to have a lot of trust with, or you're investing a lot of money and time with, called and said, we want 30 minutes of your time because your voice is going to shape who we become, I think you would say yes. And so I often say, hey, that is it's a great critique of the process. And there's always the risk. There's always the risk of that. We've not run up against that. I wouldn't have a job if that was the case. I think what feels fuzzy right now is a little bit of the who. I've been so surprised by how I knew, or maybe I hoped at the beginning, that this would be able to touch a variety of industries. And I've been so surprised that all of the clients I've worked with in the last 12 months have been from completely different industries. I've not overlapped once. And that for me, I think when I came out, I thought, I'm going to find a lane and I'm going to run in that lane. But it's been built on so much referral, and all of these companies are then talking to these other companies. And so, like I kind of said at the beginning, there's so many different types of businesses that I'm getting to speak with and work with, that I think that for me made me step back and go, okay, I need to reframe some of this. And one of the things at the very beginning I was hoping to be able to break into is private equity. I still think there's a massive market there for private equity firms to be able to say, hey, we need to understand what the customers are thinking and feeling so that we can see some rapid growth in our portfolio. And so I'm still looking for the way to break into there. But I think what feels maybe the most fuzzy that I didn't expect was how vast, in fact, it would be in terms of an offering across multiple industries.
Yeah, that's cool. That is so cool that you've just been a little bit of everywhere. I also would not have expected that, but what a gold mine also of opportunity that's ahead, because it's not like you're not limited in any way. And every kind of industry should, if they're brave enough, like you mentioned, to hear the feedback, should totally take the moment to do that. Hey, I want to pause here for just a second. If what you're hearing today is hitting close to home, if you're recognizing your business in these patterns, I want you to know that it's not a coincidence. This is exactly the work I do with founders. I work with business owners who know something needs to change but haven't had the right person in their corner to help them build it. If that sounds like where you are, there's an inquiry form linked in the show notes. It takes about 3 minutes. Tell me where you are, what's not working, and what you're trying to build, and we'll find time to talk. Okay, let's keep going. So tell me more about the method and like, what's the process when you come into a business? For those that might be listening, they're like, wait, I am kind of curious about this. Like, what does that look like as a brand?
Yeah. First off, if you're listening and you are curious about this, I am maybe the worst salesperson of all time, because I tell people, like, just do it. Just do it yourself. Like, if you have the infrastructure, if you have people who are hungry and have the space to be able to do it, do it. It's that worthwhile. It's that much of a moment of flourishing for your business, I believe it is so pivotal.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. And I believe in it so much, I tell everybody exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I do when I come in is I really want to understand where the company feels like they are right now. What are some hypotheses that you have about how you think your customer genuinely feels, not what they're feeling, not they are satisfied or they feel we are excellent. That's great. But why do you think they feel that way? Where do you think they have friction in their customer journey? Where do you think you're under delivering and over promising? I almost do a little VOC on the client that I'm working with to get us started. I want to understand, what are your goals? How can voice of the customer help drive those goals, help you exceed those goals? And then what we do is we take that understanding of where are we now, and we formulate just a few key questions that I'm going to ask across every single customer. So I do want some sort of a data point that I can come across and I can say, hey, I asked every customer these 3 to 5 questions. Yep. Outside of that, it's such a fluid and organic conversation. I need to be able to pull the thread of a conversation that may suddenly pull up. Someone may go, I felt a lot of friction at X. And if I was just going through a list of questions, I wouldn't necessarily dive deeper into that. I need the space to be able to pull that more and go, well, how did it make you feel? Did they potentially lose your loyalty over that? And understand, what kind of pricing power does the client have? How are they positioned in the market? How is messaging working? I want to know all of those things. So once I have those kind of questions formulated, we put together a list between 15 and 20 conversations that we're going to have, and we go across audience segments. So I want great customers that you have right now. I want customers who have churned. I want customers who maybe feel like they're neutral. You know, if you're doing NPS, they were those more neutral ones. And prospective customers you haven't reached yet. And we need to hear from all of their different voices comprehensively. Then what I do is, once my customer has given me that information, I take it from there, and they don't hear from me until it's all done. So I reach out, schedule, get all of the conversations done. I record them. They're confidential, which this is a really big one, is I keep them confidential because I need them to have the space to be authentic and vulnerable. I'm looking for trends. I'm not looking to, say, hey, I'm going to attribute it to this person. No, we're looking for the trends here. We're looking for the patterns, the themes, the understandings of insight. But the customer's unattributed voice in that way will drive what that roadmap looks like. So from there, after I've had all the conversations, that's where AI comes in, and it helps me to take all of that qualitative data, make it a bit more quantitative. We can put some OKRs to things, some KPIs to things, identify the trends. And then I work really closely with the client afterwards. So I'm not just delivering the report. We're having an in-depth meeting where we're going through everything and we're understanding next steps. Who's going to own this? What does it look like? How long should it take? So from the beginning of that meeting, that first kickoff meeting that we have, typically to that insight meeting is about 3 to 4 weeks. So if you think about 1 month could change the trajectory of your business going forward, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you invest in those conversations? And so from there, also have the opportunity to just do, we call that like a sprint. We're going to sprint. We're going to go get you a bunch of information really fast, and then you can own it from there. Or if your company doesn't have quite the infrastructure yet, of course, I can come alongside, and, we have different ways of being able to integrate together and go forward in that way.
Oh, that's so cool. I can't imagine the data that you get. I love that you keep every conversation confidential, because I don't want them to know, what I really feel, right? It's a scary thought, I'm sure, for some of them. I know you said previously that you're refining your retainer model because capacity, we both, are in that similar situation where there's only so much that you can take on, right? So how do you balance your own capacity with the clients that you have coming in? And also, just as you think about growing your business, how are you deciphering all of that?
Did you find that this was one of those things too, Courtney? Like, as you started your business, where at the beginning it's so fun and you're like, it's customizable.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
go, it's not customizable forever.
No. And then you realize, oh, I can't commit to an every Tuesday meeting. I'm already booked on Tuesdays, you know?
Yes.
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 Yes. 100%.
That's where all of, I think, this aspect of running the business came into play, where at the beginning of a journey with a new client, it is customizable, right? We're figuring out, what do you need? I'm trying to get it done as quickly as possible without losing any of the depth, any of the thorough conversations there, but trying to get all those
Yeah.
insights back in their hands. And then I recognized there are a lot of people out there who don't have the infrastructure for this. And so they do need somebody that can come help and be part of, whether it's we keep this going and every quarter we're going to do voice of the customer conversations, so we know where we're at. We're going to do, touch points, or whether you need me to be a more fractional CX officer. What does that look like then? And so I built retainer packages based, and, I think about them as, at the highest level, I can maybe do one or two of those a year. And
Yeah.
so they're very, very exclusive. In that case, they're much higher priced. And that it's been kind of a figuring out of the puzzle pieces of how much can I actually take on, which I know now. I know what a month at capacity looks like. And I think that my next big step would be, if I feel like I'm at that point, do I do something like a wait list, where it's like, oh, I'm on the wait list to be with ElucidCX? Or do I hire the right people, and do we scale and grow in that way? And there's a lot of different elements that go into that. I think right now I'm leaning into the hiring of people. I would love to see ElucidCX be able to grow and employ people across the globe to be able to do this. But it always starts with that first full-time hire of somebody that can come in and do this exact kind of work. Because as much as I love it, I also recognize, like, there's one day where I just want to be the visionary behind it. I love having the conversations right now. People tell me the craziest things, Courtney. People tell me the craziest things. They will tell me things that I was like, I don't even know where that came from. That was not on my bingo card. And it really is, I think, because we're made for connection. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. We love to connect. We love to chat. And when we feel psychologically safe to do that. So finding the right people to create that environment, that's really important. And I think I created retainer models to go, hey, not everybody has the infrastructure for this. I know how many of those a month I'm capable of taking on. When I feel like I'm getting even close to that, though, it's time to hire the right person to come in that can do this as well, and us kind of join forces then in that.
Yeah. So how are you approaching the sales side of things, as lead generation and getting that pipeline going is really important as you continue to scale? How are you approaching that, and what's working and what's not working for you?
When I started this, I really felt like the Lord was calling and asking me to do something that looked very, very different. I mean, I have a little sticky notepad right here on my desk that says "Be different." And I wrote it, and I felt like that has been the mantra: be different, be different, be different. And there are days where that's hard, though, because I come from a marketing background. I know all of the right things to do. I know that I need to build up a subscription email list, and I could do email blasts. I know that I should cold email and, all of these things. And I've done all of them, Courtney. I've done all of them. I've done cold LinkedIn's messages, which I don't even like getting. And there's an element to all of that where I felt like, you know what, this business is built on connection, and some of this feels inauthentic to what I'm actually doing. And that doesn't make it wrong. I believe to my core. In fact, I am consulting businesses when I find out they have a marketing gap and they go, can you come in and take this next step with us? Yes, I can. What am I consulting them to do in that marketing place? These same exact things that I am actually not doing. And it's not because they're wrong. It's just because it's not the right fit for me right now. And so I have been very, very fortunate where right now all of my new clients have been based on referrals. And it's creating this web, this interlocking kind of beautiful tapestry of people who are saying, hey, this changed the course of my business. You need to go talk to her. And I literally went to have breakfast with somebody, and I get there and my hands are all, nervous, because anytime we're selling, it's nerve wracking. And I'm sitting there and I'm just, a little fidgety, and I'm like, okay, at what point do we do this? And it was so sweet, because the guy looked across from me and he goes, you're not selling me anything today. Like, I'm already sold. We're here to talk about what the next steps are. Wow. And I didn't have a response for that. I mean, I didn't come ready for that. I was just like, and it was beautiful. I wish somebody had told me that, actually, that sometimes when you're starting a business, some things are actually going to work. And I think as entrepreneurs, when we help fellow entrepreneurs, we're like, listen, we get that there's so much risk. And you're going to have days where you're on the mountain, and you're going to have days where you're on the valley, and you're just going to slug it out, and you're going to get it done. And, all the little buzzwords, you're going to have grit and resilience and perseverance and endurance. And you go into it and you're like, I am sweating already. The LLC just got approved. And I'm just like, it's not going to work most days.
Yes.
And you're ready to pivot. And I wish somebody had said, some days it's totally going to work. It's going to work. You're going to show up and you don't have to do a thing, because what you're doing had an impact in such a way that somebody will have already had the foresight to see that and understand it, and they're going to be ready to go. And so I think that has helped me kind of understand that getting out there and making connections and being able to talk one-on-one with people is so, so, so valuable. And the kind of cold emailing, LinkedIn messages, it's not working right now. It's not working. And that's okay. That's okay for this season.
Yep. Absolutely. It is so cringy. There was a time when I also spent that time, trying to get some lead gen that way, which, I agree with you. When your relationships matter to you and at such a deep level, it just feels icky. And so what if my business is, 80+% referral? So what, right? I tell myself that it's still a mental game to be like, okay with it. But it is a reality. But also, like, I had somebody tell me, what's wrong with that? And I'm like, I don't know. Feels wrong.
Amen. What's wrong with that? And Courtney, where did we learn that that's not okay?
Right.
Like, I think that's one of those things that I've been thinking about, and going like, where did I learn that? Where did that come into play, that we began to think that if you are generating a lot of your business based on referrals, that's somehow wrong. You're somehow lacking. And wrong isn't even the right word. Maybe it's that it's not holistic or complete, that you should be doing something else. And, I'm at a point right now where I'm thinking about going so old school of actually creating things and taking them and dropping them off in person. I mean, because I want to be able to see people. I want to be able to look them in the eye and say, here's a custom ElucidCX cookie and some cool swag. I don't know what, maybe it's a bag of coffee. I don't know. But I want to be able to say, maybe you haven't received one of these kinds of things in 15 or 20 years because business looks different now. But maybe it doesn't need to look all that different. Maybe we can go back to cool age-old practices of showing up in businesses and saying, hey, who can I talk to?
Yeah. Why not just show up to the local bank and leave some business cards and have a conversation with the bank president there? Yeah.
Why not? Why not? And it feels hard, right? Because one of the things I was thinking about, Courtney, is sort of prepping for this, was like, we live in a world where we are trying to make so many places of our lives have the most efficiency that I think we are over efficicizing. We're just going to make that up. That's new. That is
I love that word.
This podcast only. We are creating too many efficiencies in our own lives. And I think that there need to be times when we look at a situation and we go, you know what? I think it's okay to be a little uncomfortable in this situation like that. I think it's okay for this to be a little bit harder. I handwrite a note after every VOC call I have. So I've done hundreds of these. I handwrite a note after. I had to buy a whole thing of international stamps because these are going all over the globe. And
Wow.
If an efficiency expert came in, now you'll love this. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So there's an actual thing that triggers that says, if this is done, the letter needs to get written.
Yep.
An efficiency expert might come in and go, you could automate that process. It could be 30 minutes after the meeting ends, an email goes out. I could. I don't want to.
No.
I actually want my hand to get sore, to get a little crampy.
Yes.
It's very humbling. I think it's very grounding. And I think it reminds me that what I'm doing is bigger than me. Because when I have to write that this letter is going to the Netherlands, that this letter is going to Sweden, that this letter is going to Colorado, I am reminded that something so much bigger than me is at work here. And I'm just a steward of it. And it's grounding and humbling and beautiful. And I'm not ready for that to become an efficiency yet.
Right. Yeah. There's so much power in a handwritten letter that no email will ever replace. Never in a million years. I don't care how much more efficient you are during your week because of that. It doesn't matter, because it's the relationship that really does matter.
Yes.
So I know you have goals, Jessica. What are your goals for the next 6 or 12 months?
Ooh, big goal is scaling. So I think getting the retainer model that I've created really locked in and playing, and his clients are beginning to learn about it and find their place. It's important to me too that a client doesn't feel like I'm ever trying to oversell them something. Like I want them to have something that they see the value of it at whatever level they're at. So getting that operating in a place that feels really exciting for them, really valuable. And I think another big goal of mine is I would love for a year from now to have a group of people who are doing this work alongside me, who are maybe in different cities, and that we're branching out and we're saying, oh my goodness, look at, I have on my desk, one of my big, hairy, audacious goals is to see 5,000 businesses participate in Voice of the Customer in this way. So I have one of those big notepads that you get at Target, and I wrote the road to 5,000. And every one of my clients, I list them out. And so they don't know this, but every day when I sit down, this is like making me emotional a little bit right now. But every day when I sit down to work, I am looking at their names, and I am giving thanks for who they are and what they're doing and their yes to me. And I want to see this notepad filled for the glory of God, because in these conversations, human connection is happening in a digital age where people feel isolated and alone. And I think it will change the way, Courtney, that businesses operate, that they listen, that they engage, that they go to market, that they market themselves even, and that we show up for each other.
Yeah. Oh, you are incredible, Jessica. The way, the care, the love you put, you're so intentional with your customers. And I think anybody listening or watching this is going to be able to see that. What you're doing is amazing. So what are you praying about in your business right now? What are those things specifically that you're asking for really the Lord to guide you in?
I am really praying for the ability to understand and shepherd this business well. I have been very strategic and prayerful about the people that I have allowed to come and speak into my life in this season, and have put kind of some key voices and mentors around me. I spoke of my family first. And so if you think of it in terms of rings, my family is that inner ring. They are the, inner sanctum there, where they are seeing mom at her best and at her worst, and they're hearing all of the things. And then the next ring out are those people that are trusted voices and advisors that are walking with me in the trenches and helping me to understand. And my prayer is just that the Lord would give me a deeper understanding of faith, a deeper understanding of humility, to shepherd well, to listen well, to stay curious, and to trust him. I just keep praying that I will understand and learn how to trust him all the more in this, because I've even noticed that, I'll wake up some days and imposter syndrome comes in. And the thing that I gave up for Lent, Courtney, I gave up worrying about this business, which
Nice.
I woke up one day, right, as Lent was starting, and I just kind of came to the foot of the cross, and I said, Lord, like, what am I carrying that I'm not meant to carry? Like, what am I carrying that I'm not meant to carry, but that's also creating like a rift between us where I can't fully access your heart and your love for me because I'm holding something too tightly. I'm trying to control something. I'm trying to determine the outcomes. And I realized like I was waking up every day carrying this, like, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? Even though time and time again, it was working. And the Lord was like, can you give that up now? Like, are we there yet, Jess? Like, are you with me now? And giving that up for Lent feels like such a, like, almost like a whimsical, like, I'm giving up worry for Lent. But I will tell you what, the attacks on me have been so fervent to try to get me to want to worry and go, well, what's next? Well, what'll be next? And what'll be next? And my kids keep reminding me, Mom, you gave up worry for Lent. So
they're going to hold you accountable.
You have to shift that perspective. What is the Lord doing? And being in that place of gratitude and just wanting to steward it well. It's not mine anyways. It's not mine.
Yeah.
I know you feel that way about your business as well, where you go, I show up to it because this is an honor and a privilege to even be called up to do this work. And it's not my business anyway. They're not my finances anyway.
Yeah.
It's all of the Lord's. And he has just entrusted me to do something with it. And so that's why my prayer is like, Lord, you have to help me steward this well. Because on my own, I will be a hot mess. I will be a hot mess. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take something so beautiful, so lovely, so full of light and hope and encouragement and put my own spin on it. Yeah. I want to take it and do what you have for it, Lord.
Yeah. I feel all of those same feelings and have for all of my time so far as an entrepreneur as well. And you're right. Like, it is not ours at all. And I'm just so grateful. I look all the time and I'm like, my goodness, Lord, I could not have imagined. I thought I would still be moonlighting. I thought I'd be moonlighting for 5 years trying to start my own business. And then all of a sudden he made it happen one day. I'm like, what? This is crazy. So it's like, over and over again, he shows me that, like, he is in the driver's seat. And when I fully let him sit there and have his way, it's always better. It's always better. So, Jessica, where can people find you and learn more about who you are and also ElucidCX?
LinkedIn, of course. I won't send, if you send me a connection request, I will not send you back some sort of cold sales message. If you find me on LinkedIn, I'm actually kind of in that space trying to be an encourager, sharing what's going on in my life and with my kids. Like I said, they have a front row seat to all of this. And so the things that I'm learning about business and parenting kind of at the same time. And really, I use LinkedIn to celebrate other small businesses as well. And then, of course, the website, ElucidCX.com. Got a blog over there. Love to share insights. Again, I'm a terrible salesperson. I give it all away. I want people to know this. And I trust that the Lord will then provide the clients who need me to do it. But if you don't need me to do it, I want you to be able to do it on your own. And so I don't want to gatekeep that information. I want to give it away freely and allow other people the opportunity to steward it in the way that works well for their businesses.
Yeah, I love that mindset. Well, thanks, Jessica, for joining me today. I cannot wait to share this episode with people. You have a gift. You are such a light, and I am grateful to know you now and that our paths have crossed. I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Truly, Courtney, you are a rock star. I've been looking forward to this so much. And thank you for the way that you love small businesses, that you love entrepreneurs, that you love people, and that you make space for this. This is necessary and important work, and you are the exact right person to do this work. So thank you for loving what you do so much that it creates this beautiful little ecosystem for entrepreneurs to come learn and wrestle and share with each other. It makes us all better. It really does.
Well, in it together, it takes it what's the word? Oh my gosh. I can't even think. You made me speechless, Jessica.
Good.
No.
You deserve praise in such a way that
You're
leaves
so
you
funny.
speechless.
Well, it takes all of us together because it can be a lonely road. And so I'm just grateful to have another business owner to lean on. And when we're in the trenches and we need people to help pull us out, then we're here for each other. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Courtney.